Welcome to the Stronger Leader Podcast, home of the hashtag Stronger Movement, where we explore the fascinating tapestry of human experience. I'm your host, Tony Cardello. Each episode, we'll sit down with a remarkable guest to dive into their unique journeys, from successful business leaders to individuals who have faced the darkest of times and emerged stronger, even from some of the inspiring youth of this emerging generation. We'll also cover essential topics on marriage, leadership, as well as spiritual, physical, and mental health, all in hopes to provide you with the tools and motivation to navigate your own life's challenges. Whether you're here to learn, grow, or simply be inspired, there's something for everyone. So get comfy, settle in, and join us as we embark upon this journey together. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. Turn on the notifications so you'll know whenever we drop new content. All right, let's get started.
Yeah, I've never seen editing in process by the person doing the podcast.
Hold on, you're really going to like this.
Oh, stop.
Now I got a live band.
Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the Stronger Leader Podcast with your host, Tony Cardello. Quiet down, people. Quiet down. I'm here with some very, very close friends of mine, Micah and Diana Lacerte. I mean, we had to, it was nothing for me to get the audience here when I told them you guys were coming. I mean, this is great. I'm so excited for this podcast. It's been a long time coming. Heck, we scheduled this like a month and a half, 2 months ago, right?
Yeah, and we were going to do it a little bit earlier, but I knew the launch of what we were going to share, and it was very important that we get on you after the fact of being able to announce that.
Big time. So I want to share with you guys that I've known these two for, probably 20, 25 years in some fashion, either from, around the scene or, fitness and just everything else. And I've always been drawn to you guys. You're just genuine people. Everything you guys have ever done has always just been cool. It's just been neat and wholesome and genuine, and it comes out, you know what I mean? It shows. And so I appreciate and I'm humbled to be able to call you guys friends for sure. So
man, we feel honored to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. So there's a lot to unpack here. And so strap your seatbelts on because we got a lot. So first of all, you guys are the owners of Hitch Fit, which you started, that's been over 20 years ago now, right?
The concept came over 20 years ago. We're celebrating 17 years, but if we go way back to MySpace days, 2006, so it's 20 years since that original. Hitch. Oh man, we had music just like you were playing. I mean, your top 8 friends. You move any of those friends, people get crazy. But that's really the concept, and the social media marketing really started on MySpace, and understanding the flow of going, wow, we can create material, people can see it, and then we can work with people all over the world.
Yeah. Now, how long have you guys been together now? Dating, since day one?
Well, 17
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
17 years.
So, because we met 4 months before we launched Hitch Fit. So September was 17 years for us.
Yep.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay. So, let's do this. Let's do the basics here, and let's start out with who you guys are, where you're from, where you grew up. Just tell us a little bit about you guys, where you're from.
Well, I'm actually from Vermont originally. So.
I was thinking about that on the way here. I couldn't remember. For some reason, I thought Canada, but that's close.
Very close. About 45 minutes from the Canadian border.
That's right. Okay.
Is where I grew up. Yeah.
I wasn't too far off.
Yeah, a small town in Vermont is where born and raised. I went to college there, and then after college, I moved with a bunch of college friends out to Utah. I lived in Park City, Utah for 3 years. I worked on a cruise ship for a year. Then I moved to Texas for 4 years. So I was kind of a little, I call myself a little bit of a gypsy there for
What'd you do on the cruise ship?
Well, I was the fitness director on the cruise ship. That was when I was first getting into fitness, and that was kind of my dream. So I got that job, and I left Park City, and I was like, I'm going to travel and do fitness. But that's actually where I gained a lot of weight too. So that was kind of where my transformation journey came after I got off the cruise ship, because I gained 50 pounds on the cruise ship, and I'm the fitness director. And
that didn't go very well.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and it was after I got off the ship that I kind of had my aha moment, and started stepping into fitness because I had these dreams of competing. And so July 5th of 2005 is what I call my Independence Day, where I kind of made a choice and stepped into all of the work that I needed to do to lose the weight, change my habits, work on all of the mindset stuff so that I could step into fitness competing. Ended up losing 50 pounds over about a 5-month period of time, won my first fitness competition, went on to compete for about 7 years and won a couple world championships in that time. And that was how we connected. So my transformation journey didn't just help change me physically. It actually was the key to meeting my husband and then being able to be a part of Hitch Fit and help other people transform their lives too. And I lost the initial weight, had to go on more of a healing journey because there was a root to why I was over consuming and trying to fill myself with food to cope with things and traumas that I'd gone through in my past too. So that was a lot of work. And it's been 20 years since I lost that 50 pounds and have kept it off. But so there's been a lot of work that's happened so that I could just come to this place of freedom in my fitness and health journey. But that journey is what led me to Micah. We ended up meeting at the Olympia in Las Vegas, of all places. And I knew immediately that he was my person and moved to Kansas City 2 months later after we'd met. And then we started Hitch Fit and were able to just kind of step in and help people transform their lives. That grew to, we had 3 gyms at one point. We've consolidated now down to 1, but we've grew Hitch Fit to 82 countries. We've helped people shed over 750,000 pounds of fat. And then these last couple of years, as we've stepped more into Micah sharing the heart of his journey, we've just gone deeper with people and helped them more with healing journeys and working on their past pains and getting into our retreats, faith and fitness retreats. Cool, and so the Lord's just kind of navigated us into this, being able to not just help people with behavior modifications, but now to be able to really help people with heart level transformations and digging in deeper there. So
spiritual, mental, physical, you guys are hitting it all.
The root, man. You got to go to the root.
No question. No question. Okay. So, back up, college. Tell me about what'd you go to college for?
Oh, well, I went to college at Linden State. It was called Linden State College back then. It was 15 minutes from where I grew up. So I was still pretty close to home. And I actually started in meteorology. It's actually one of the top meteorology schools in the country.
I could see why you went into fitness.
Well, I wanted to be a weather girl. I was like, that seems fun. I would really like to just tell people about the weather. I was actually fascinated by the weather, but math is not my greatest strength. And so when I got in and it was like calculus 2, 3, 4, 5, I was like, I feel like I just want to go to the gym or to the party instead of. So I switched majors. I ended up finally, I switched majors 5 times in college. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. So I finally just landed on business because I was like, I feel like that's a good general. That's going to just help me in anywhere that I want to go. So, and it was a good choice because I ended up just learning more from life experience.
Yeah, it always is, right? That's what Charlie Kirk was like really big on that, right? That's why he was just so down on college. It's not because it's bad, but for that reason. Like your life teaches you more than school will ever teach you, right?
Yeah.
So, it's funny thing that you didn't like math and being a meteorologist, it's so wide ranges, 20 to 30% chance of rain, and you don't even have to be right.
Well, I know. I'm like, it is actually a job that you don't even have to, you're wrong most of the time.
Yeah. And it's okay. And everybody tunes in tomorrow to hear it again.
Oh man,
that's funny.
Yeah.
All right, Micah, you're up. Tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Kansas City area here, in Olathe, and my upbringing was a lot of instability. We moved 30 times in 18 years.
Wow.
There was highs and there was lows, like a lot of kids' stories. But a lot of my drive came from a very painful place that I hid for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so I grew up, I was an athlete. I was skinny growing up, but I was an athlete. I had a lot of friends. I was a good kid. We just had a lot of instability at home. It was my mom and I. My mom got married multiple times. One of her husbands I loved very much, but he was an alcoholic. There was a lot of abuse in that home. witnessing that as a child. You don't really understand the whole deal. I just had connected alcohol to something that was very negative at a very young age. Mm-hmm. And so that really, it was cemented in me of going, if I drink that, I turn into that.
Yeah.
And so alcohol was never a problem for me, growing up. And so
Did you ever drink?
I did for a very short amount of time. So I always tell a story. The first time I ever drank alcohol was my 21st birthday in college, but I was so into bodybuilding, and we'll get into that in a little bit, that, we would go out to the bars and stuff with the friends, but I had to leave at 12 o'clock because I needed specific amount of hours to sleep to be able to wake up and train, I mean, I was living that lifestyle, and that lifestyle was saving my life at the time. It's just nobody understood what was going on. And so I was in that scene, but it was not, I was there because, my friends were there and whatnot, and it was something to do during college, but I was fighting a different war inside, and that was the bigger thing. So, flashback a little bit further, my mom gets married again, another bad choice, another guy that is, just, it's not a good fit for me and for her. That would go through divorce as well. My mom and dad never got married. We have a great relationship, my dad and I now, but I didn't grow up with my father. And that was...
When did he enter your life? Or
really?
Back into it, I guess, like healthy.
A little bit where there was more of a relationship, 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere around there. And looking back at it now, it was just really impossible for him and my mom. It was just, my mom, it was just difficult, and...
Mom have any substance abuse issues?
Prescription drugs. She had her own traumas too. And, and as we dive into this podcast more, it's like when we get into the root of traumas, it manifests in one way or another if it's not healed. And, and so some people turn to drugs, alcohol, pornography, food, prescription drugs, whatever it may be. And so, as a child, you don't know really what's going on outside of like, this is who I trust, this is who I love. But you understand that there's instability and that it's like, this isn't normal. But what I did is I created disassociation, which then from the outside appearance, no one would know anything was wrong. But internally, I'm really struggling because of some abuse that I had gone through that we can dive into, but just not having a home that was consistently safe. And that was a challenge, and so as a kid, you don't know, right? You're just like, I'm hanging out with friends. I'm trying to navigate life the best I can as I'm getting older and growing. But I also started becoming really aware that something's not right here, but it's the hand that I was dealt.
Sure.
And so I got to either survive or I got to give up. And that's kind of where I was at.
For both of you guys, when did faith enter into your life? Were you guys raised in a church?
I was
at least foundationally.
Yes, yeah. I actually went to a Christian school from kindergarten through 8th grade, so I was literally raised in the church and had, it was, looking back, it was more of religion, and now I have a relationship with Jesus. So I ran from the Lord. I had about a good 10-year period of time right after high school that I was like, I don't need that. And the Lord was always still there, but I just was kind of went wild and went and did my own thing. And I always think of it, I call them my ding dong years. We all have some ding dong years, but I always felt like he kind of had just like a little hook in the back of my shirt. And if I started to do something too stupid, it was almost like he just kept me so I didn't fall off the cliff and do something that was super destructive in life. A long leash. And when I finally started turning my eyes back to him, which was about 2007-ish, 2008, like it had been a couple years that I'd been in the fitness industry. And my pride and my ego were for sure like surging, and it was all about me. And it was even like kind of more like new age stuff where I'm the God and it's all about me. And that feeds your ego.
Absolutely.
But it was so empty when it was all about me. And if I was the center of everything, it was just this emptiness and this kind of depressive feeling. And I was like, this isn't it. This isn't it. And he was like, yo, I'm right here whenever you're ready to turn back around and see me and know that I'm here and I want you back home. And that I journal. So I have journals from 25 years back. And so I literally can see in my journals where my heart started turning and my eyes started turning back to him. And I had to come into a place of repentance for running and for turning from him. But he was like, I am right here. I love you. Let me show you what I have for you. And it's better than what you're running after right now. And it's just been this continual development of my relationship with Jesus over the last probably 17 or 18-ish years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. What's really remarkable, Jesus, God's so gentle, right? He's non-invasive. Just like you said, like, yo, I'm here when you're ready. You're like, hey, I'm good. I'm going to go take the stage by myself. Hey, go ahead, girl. Go strut your stuff. Do what you think you got, and, I'm here when you're ready, And I always have this vision that this is my life because I'm speed racer, right? So I'm driving in a car. I'm in a sports car. I'm in a Tesla going fast. And I'm banging every guardrail there is to, I'm all over. And Jesus is in the back seat with his seatbelt on. And I'm like, he's just back there. And it gets crazy, puts the other seatbelt on. He's just there. He ain't going nowhere. He'll ride with you through all of that. And then when you really start spinning out of control, you're like, yo, can you help me? He's like, yeah, I've been waiting on you to ask me to. Mm-hmm. And he'll just take his seatbelt off and jump in and take the wheel and just stabilize the car. Literally just like that. Like if you turn your life and surrender to him, he can stabilize your life in that storm in a moment. And he calmed the storm, right? Mm-hmm. with his words in one hand, right? And so I always have that vision because, I'm this guy that's, it's cars and I like cars. I'm just driving all over the place, banging off the guardrails. And let me tell you, I banged off every guardrail there is. And finally I was like, I can't do it, and he took Jesus, take the wheel, right? So he did. So how about you, Michael? Were you raised in any sort of Christian upbringing, or when was spirituality introduced to you?
So there's a beautiful part of the story I'm going to tell you, and then a really horrific part of the story I'll tell you that has to do with the Lord.
Yeah.
So I shared, that we were all over the place as a kid. When I was around the age of 5, my mom was introduced to an individual that he was a leader at the church. He was a guy that ultimately I needed a male figure in my life, and he was the perfect fit.
Sure.
He had a good family, everything else. He was someone you could trust. And so he would come over, teach me about Jesus, get me more involved in the church. So I gave my life to the Lord very, very young. And then, we'd go fishing, play catch, all this stuff as I'm growing. Well, what I didn't realize at the time, and my mom didn't, was that's when the grooming and manipulation started. Mm. So he had obviously sinful desires that were about hurting me long term, while using the Lord to gain my trust. Mm-hmm. And so from the age of 5 to 15, I went through horrific sexual abuse from him. Mm. And
how long before that started? After you started like knowing the Lord and really, and then that started. Like how soon?
I mean, so grooming starts very early. And so I'll give you like a couple examples to not get too graphic, but to explain what's going on and the methods within what's happening.
Well, I think it's important because, listen, if there's people out here that are watching this and you have some suspicion of this, I think this could maybe help give people some revelations.
Absolutely.
So it's important.
So here's what we know. And we've done a lot of research in this space in the last, 7 to 10 years, like in understanding what is going on and how to, number one, protect the most important, which is the vulnerable, and that's children at all costs. Mm-hmm. And so what started happening was a couple things happened. So if there is a strong male presence in the home, it's far less likely that a pedophile will go towards that child. that is.
Have you ever seen one of the videos I did about that?
I haven't, so I'll watch it. Yeah,
so good.
Yeah. So you have that side. Now it's a different deal if the abuse is happening within the home. That is a completely different, complex thing that we can potentially get into here in a little bit. But with me, and specifically, there were things I didn't realize until I was an adult that were wrong. He would want me to sit on his lap when we would swing. Mm-hmm. He would have arousal. Mm-hmm. He'd want me to ride in his truck, and I was a big boy, so I could drive the steering wheel, all for a deeper, darker purpose.
Yep.
I thought that I just was supposed to take showers with my dad.
Yep.
There were things that started very, very young, and then the actual abuse started when I hit puberty. Mm. And then he just navigated essentially the story and using the Lord, and this was what was sick. Using the Lord in a way where it was like, God doesn't want you to have sex before marriage, which I understood even at that age. But, ultimately, here's something that you can do to, eliminate that desire. And that's how it was in. And then, the older that I got, it just got worse and worse. There's a long story to it that's in the book. Mm-hmm. And so I'll share that story in the book for the reader.
Okay.
But
do you have a link to the book so that we can link it in the
Amazon? You can look up The Breaker.
All right.
The Breaker.
I'll make sure to link all that stuff.
And so I'll tell you the manipulation there and the deep, they build the trust at any form. And the thing that's scary about it is I'm always watching now and going, who is spending time with kids the most? Mm-hmm. And that's ultimately because pedophilia is not an impulsive thing the same way as like something as horrific as rape. They're different because pedophilia it's a long play.
It's a drawn out.
They want everyone around them to trust them. Mm. And I'm the guy that will take my shirt off my back for these people, and then at the same time abusing children, and that's ultimately who this man was. Mm. And
what was his job, career? What put him in that position?
So as long as I knew him from a young age until the last day I saw him, he drove buses for the schools. Mm. He worked at kinder cares. Mm. He worked in the children's ministry work. One of the last jobs he drove disabled children.
Yeah.
Sick. A child that couldn't even say that something was going on. There was no chance. And, there's a lot of men out there right now, and it's who I'm speaking to. There's a lot of women out there too, and if I'm speaking to them, but men don't talk. They don't share. And 90% of men who go through what I went through, and that's about 1 in 4 men that we pass every single day went through something similar as me, but 90% of them can't say a word because it literally kills them.
Yeah, you made mention in the podcast that they either die with it or from it, and I thought that was so profound. And gosh, man, it is. And the things that you talk about, just even the vernacular that you use about how being what we think is weak, or what the world is classified as weak, is actually strong. Is being able to come up, and I've posed it a different way to where by saying and speaking up. The reason why that's strong is because you're saying I'm willing to accept the criticism, the shame, the hurtful things that people may say, the judgment. I'm strong enough to accept what could come of that. By not saying anything where you think you're being strong is actually weak, because you're saying I'm not strong enough to handle what anybody could say, what they may say about me. And for a guy, the ultimate thing for a man is to be labeled gay.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you have that, and then you have this confusion, and we touched a little bit on the podcast, but there's this, when you're getting abused like that, from a guy standpoint, there's an arousal, right? So there's this confusion. God gave us this amazing gift for men and for women, but when used improperly, it creates enormous amount of confusion and ultimately sin. So you don't know, and especially as a child, like I'm not knowing what's going on until I start realizing, like, why am I feeling so sick inside about what this man that I'm supposed to love is doing to me? And I always give kind of like one really deep story, and I think we share this in the book too. There was a time that he came in and he did his worst to me. And while he's leaving, he looks back and he's like, I need you to memorize the first 6 books of the Bible by tomorrow at 3 p.m. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And I'm sitting there and I'm just in bed and I'm 15 years old at this point. So I'm not like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like I'm in just shackles and just suffocated, where I can't say a word because imagine what people will say, but inside I'm dying and I just don't want to live.
So let me ask you this, if you don't mind, and I don't mean to drag in any details, but so at that age, you're able to say no, and maybe of a physical nature that you could even fight it if you wanted to, and you didn't. Was there a fear? Is there a fear? Is there, what is that? And I think it's important because if anybody watches this, that's going through this, there could be people that are 20 years old going through it and don't know how to say or stop it or whatever. And so, help people process.
So it's a complex and very unique situation for every single story. Every story is going to be slightly different. Someone who was abused by their own father in a household, one of their biggest fears is I don't want to destroy the family. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. And think of the shame that will bring the family. And then if you get into cultural, it's even different.
Yeah.
So if you get into the Hispanic or the Black community or whatnot, it's a little bit different than the white community. Like every community is slightly different with it as well. So we know the data behind all of that, and why certain cultures don't come out, and so my story specifically is this family to me was like a family to me.
Yeah.
They had children that I looked and I was like the big brother. And so there was a part of me that was like, if I take it, then they don't have to.
Yeah.
And I don't want to destroy this family, but at the same time, dude, I am dying.
That was the Menendez brothers kind of had a similar. Well, it's yet to be. I don't know if there's so much Hollywood behind all that. What was real and what was not. But that was the storyline, right? Was that the one brother was taking it, and then eventually the other brother got brought in.
Yeah, I mean, and when you go through something like that, you're at such a triggered state that it's understandable why something like that could happen.
Sure.
If you've gone through that level of abuse and I didn't take the action, but I had a situation where we were driving one night and I was really close to just grabbing the wheel and taking both of our lives. Mm-hmm. It was that deep. But the people will question, well, why didn't you just say something?
Yeah.
You got to understand it was 10 years of manipulation and abuse. This man had a complete constraints on me like no other.
Yeah.
And it's why I turned to fitness at one point where I was like, no one will ever hurt me again.
Yeah.
Ever. I held it in, but I was like, I'm going to have this armor and muscle. I'm going to go achieve all these amazing things and no one will ever hurt me ever again. And now looking back at it, it's like the biggest strength that I ever had was being vulnerable and right here, right now, sharing a story that so many men and women out there are holding inside and it's killing them. They can't be the father they need to be, the husband they need to be, because they're still protecting the 5 or 6 or 7-year-old little boy inside of them.
Gosh, I can't imagine. That's thanks for sharing. It's crazy. So, all right. So there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, let me just touch on one thing that you said is like, because some people, especially if you haven't been through that type of abuse, think, why didn't you just say no? And it's honestly, it's not as simple as that. Mm-hmm. because the grip of fear, the control, and in his book, when we're kind of talking about those things, it's like almost a level of paralysis of when your body goes into that triggered state, it is like it's fight, flight, or freeze. And a lot of times people go into just this disassociation and their brain has to go someplace else because their body physically can't. And when you're in someone's home, the majority of pedophiles, and it's not some stranger on the street, it's someone close to the family or someone in the home. Michael was living in their home.
Yeah.
So he had no place to go. And so I think sometimes that's because I've heard people ask that question before, and it's like, it really is, it's not as simple as like, oh, I have, autonomy in this situation to say no. Like victims of abuse and domestic abuse too. It's like, oh, well, why didn't you just
keep
leave?
going back? Yeah.
Yeah. There is such a complexity to it that it is not as simple as like, oh, I'm literally, his book starts with the line, I'm bigger now, I'm stronger now, surely this won't happen again. But then it did. And it is so complex. And if you haven't been through that, I just wanted to add that of like, there are a lot of reasons why someone can't just say, oh, stop that or don't do that. And when you're in that situation, it's that level of feeling like you don't actually have say or control. And a lot of times that's because of the manipulation and how your brain has been wired. And the way to get away is usually it may not be a physical way. It's your brain literally has to escape. And that's what he's saying with disassociation. That was his way of getting away and escaping.
It's almost like just pretending it ain't happening, right?
The other really important point to make is when I'm at that age, so you're 15 now, you're not a little tiny boy anymore. Right. The thought of anyone finding out at that particular point, I'm thinking that's another thing that you're struggling with, because you're like, man, they're going to think all these things about me. I'm not going to have a girlfriend ever. I'm always going to be the abused kid. I'm going to be and so you're struggling with that too, in your own identity of like, I'm looking in the mirror, I don't even know who I am. And he had just broke me down to nothing. And that, that was the rock bottom, well, I thought it was the rock bottom, and it wasn't actually. It was when everything manifested a couple of years later after the abuse, when I was just trying to hold it and it finally came out.
So during that time when you're going through that, I have a couple questions about this. First question is, if anybody's watching this, say a young kid stumbles upon this video and is watching this, because I will put some SEO content that somebody may search for something like this and find this video. Knowing what you know now and the extensive research you've done, what would you tell the 9-year-old boy if you found out this was happening? Then what would you tell the 9-year-old? Well, obviously you would go turn the guy in and all that, but if that wasn't a thing, if you weren't able to do that, you were able just to tell the 9-year-old boy some advice, what would you tell a kid that's going through that?
What we know about healing is you're 9 years old, so you don't have any control of a lot of things. I would 100% first sit down and talk to someone that you've 100% trusted. And you need to share the story.
Just tell somebody.
You got to tell somebody safe, though.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Because if that little boy tells somebody that's not safe and they respond in a negative way, that boy will hold it forever.
Yeah, that could backfire.
So it's really important for someone out there that is listening, that a little boy or even a grown man, a husband or whatnot, sits down and says, I have to share something with you that happened to me. Hold that with them. It's extremely important, because you could really damage this person if it's done improperly. Like, it's not a big deal, or we need to move on from this or whatnot. It's like you need to hold it with them and be very compassionate in it, because it's very destructive. I've said this on the podcast that we had, and I do truly believe that shame is the devil's grip on man. In a way, we have this societal stigma that is on us, that men can't be vulnerable and all of this stuff, and that's a weakness, and silence is a strength. And right. And the reality of the situation is like, it is literally one of the biggest strengths we actually have. And that's not going out and being a snitch. That's going, hey, I'm holding all of this horrific thing inside of me because someone took advantage of a vulnerable little boy, and it literally is killing me. And I had guilt for a lot of years not because I did something bad to someone, but because he wasn't turned in sooner. Mm-hmm. And then, because my guy went to prison. The guy who abused me went to prison. There were 7 boys that came forward.
How long after?
4 years.
After when he was done with you?
I got contacted by a detective at age 19 in college. And that was the second person I ever told. I told my mom. My mom was the first person.
How soon did you tell her? That was one of the questions I had too. How soon did you tell your mom about all this? Was it way after?
No, it was on the ride home. That's a story for the book that needs to be stayed in the book because it's sensitive.
Okay.
My mom though responded perfectly with her initial response to what I was saying. She was very angry. She was very emotional and crying. It's just she didn't go far enough.
Yeah.
And maybe she was scared. Mm-hmm. Maybe she had trauma that, and she didn't know where to go.
So let's talk. Let's empower. Let's empower some people here because that's a real thing. I've heard of this before. And then what happens later that I've also heard is that the child went to the mom. It's usually a stepdad, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, right? Child goes to the mom, or even an uncle. So it's the mom's brother or
the mom.
Or the mom.
So
right?
What we know about research now is it will blow people's minds when it comes to male, female on who's actually doing it.
So then this can fill in the blank. Let's just change the roles here. So the kid goes to the mom. The mom doesn't say anything, right? Or is scared to, because I can imagine, first of all, the child, like, I don't want to ruin the family. I don't want, they're keeping it in, right? So let's say that child gets up enough guts to go to at least to the mom. Mm-hmm. And then the mom takes on that burden of, well, I don't want to ruin our family. I don't want to piss your dad off. I don't want to, I'm scared. He's violent. Let's empower that next level. Moms or even dads. If you hear this about a relative or for your child and you're afraid to come forward, how do we empower them to do that?
Yeah, and I'll just say the dynamic is really hard because I've heard a lot of stories of kids that did go to the other parent that were told, you're lying, this isn't true, because again, even if they knew on some level that there
probably
could be true, it's that fear and that protection level. So again, it's like, who can you find that is safe? And because we know also that kids that do say something, it often are called liars or disbelieved. Like, it's a very high percentage that are dismissed, disbelieved. And like he said, that in that first time that you share, especially a man shares or a boy, how it is handled there can determine whether it is shoved down inside literally for the rest of their lives, or if they at some point go on a healing journey. So we always are like, say something to someone, but it's not just someone, it's a safe person. Maybe that's a school counselor. Mm-hmm. Maybe that is someone at church. It's hard to determine, because if they go to someone in the family and it's dismissed, that can lead to a whole other can of worms. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be the same in every family. And a mother finding out that the father is doing this to children, or stepdad or whatever, or a father finding out that the mother is doing this, because honestly, we didn't realize how much sexual abuse is happening by women too. The statistics are crazy. People think men, but the amount of women that are also sexually abusing children the numbers are wild. And it's never, you don't, that's not where your mind immediately goes when you think of that, but it's happening both ways. So I think it's like, whoever's the safe person, and maybe the safe person is an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent. And if it's the mom or dad and a child is confided, they've got to go find a safe person too. They've got to find, there's plenty of hotlines people can call, support that people can get, just to be able to navigate those situations. But this is such a topic that's kept silent because of the fear of messing up family dynamics. if it's someone who's abusive, like it's the silence around this is consuming, and it gets passed on from generation to generation. So it's like, I just encourage people to take a step, whatever direction that is. And if someone doesn't believe you the first time, I just would encourage people, then find someone else. Like, don't let that be the thing that,
if you
that
know you're
shoves it
telling the
down.
truth, then find somebody that'll listen to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I could see that. So let me ask you this: part of the healing journey is obviously it's important for someone to say something so that it stops. You know, that the safety side of it, right? So that it'll quit. But let's go beyond that. Let's say it has stopped. The healing part for people. They have to understand that it's still though it's stopped and it's not happening anymore, there's still going to be a grip of the piece that's not healed, right? And so I think that people might tend to hang on to it forever because, well, it's over with now, it's not happening anymore, I can move on. But people don't really understand, and especially if you're not spiritually grounded, you don't understand the grip that it has and where those roots are and they're in every crack, and you don't even realize it. And so I think it's super important that people know beyond it just quitting is still not enough for the healing, right?
Yeah.
And so talk about the healing process.
Well, because
yours didn't come out like you, I never knew this about you.
Well, we'll get into the stats so you'll understand. No one knew, dude.
Right.
My best friends in the world didn't know. There was
Right.
a handful of people that knew.
And Diana didn't even know for the first how many years, right?
oh no, I knew.
Oh, you did? Okay.
That's a whole God story.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and it's a shocking story. He shared it with me 24 hours after we met.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Which is really rare.
Extremely rare.
But like, there's a story behind that though. So, but let's talk this story real quick.
Okay.
Before we move on, because it's really important, and then we'll get on what I know about you're going to talk about here in a second. 15 years old, I'm getting abused. The abuse stops. I have 2 layers of massive abuse that I have to get over. Number 1, the sexual abuse, which is a whole animal. I have the spiritual abuse that is a completely different dynamic of healing, because I am calling out to the Lord. I believe in Jesus and all of this, and I'm still getting abused, and I'm not understanding why, if I'm a good kid and I'm reading the Bible and all of this, I'm getting hurt as badly as I was.
Yeah, God,
so it was one of 2 things.
You say you are.
Yeah, I'm like, you either don't love me or I'm a bad child, and I really didn't feel like I was a bad kid. You know, I was a kid, but I wasn't getting into trouble and stuff like that. So when I finally told my mom and I said, I got to come home, and that was the end of the straw. It was like I was either going to not be alive or I was going to go back home. I end up going back home, and, looking back at it now, the darkest days weren't the days that I was getting abused in that bed. The darkest days were years after the fact of the abuse, because I held it in, and then it's just like it's poison.
It's
it just starts manifesting in the form of anxiety, depression, panic attacks. I lost everything. I lost myself. And it starts then turning into depression. It snowballs into suicidal thoughts and all of this. And on the outside, I'm smiling and life is good.
Yeah.
Because I had created disassociation. But inside, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to breathe. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And it's really important to understand the transformation that actually happens. The toxin that just consumes your body. And now I've turned my eyes and my heart away from the Lord too.
Yeah.
And so now, the Lord is with me. I still hear the Lord, but I'm not going to follow him because he wasn't there. And that another father that didn't protect me.
Golly, that's deep. So had you told anybody really other than your mom up until the point you'd shared with her?
The second person I told was at the age of 19 when I got called by the detective when he got caught. And I remember, so I get into college and I start working out. And so fitness and bodybuilding literally saved my life. There was a lifeline before that in the form of a family that took me in my senior year, and we're an amazing family. I mean, still to this day, like they are family to me. But the second lifeline that God brought was in dumbbells and chicken breast. I always say it like that because it's kind of funny during this all trauma talk. And then I go, God, give me some dumbbells and chicken breast and it changed my life. And it's science, you know, and so, you know, now looking back at it, we have the research of understanding what working out actually does to the mind with myokines and anxiety and depression and all of this. So I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. I just know I feel better. And so every rep I'm doing, I'm feeling better and better and better. And so that was a major tool for me to balance out from the anxiety and depression that was really taking me. Mm-hmm. And so then I fast forward and in a blink of an eye, in one call, all that anxiousness, anxiety, darkness got right back because, I had locked it deep. And I thought I threw the key away, but it instantly opened up with one phone call. And that phone call was a detective that was like, Mike, I need you to come back home. I need to talk to you about this individual. And I was like, and I sat down with him and I'm bawling, dude, like a 5-year-old little boy that I was protecting. And I sat there and told the man enough. And he ended up going to prison.
How did he know to call you? Was he just like hitting all the areas?
No. So what happened is there was a little boy in the church that he went to that during that time up where they lived, like one of those broadcasting commercials came on that was like, if you've gone through sexual abuse, call this number or tell a family member or whatnot. And the little boy turned around and told his mom or his dad. And like the dad went to the church went to the police picked him up. The wife is who ended up saying, because the detective was like, hey, what other boys could he have potentially hurt? And my name came up. And so that's how it came there. So they were putting the case together, but the guy, he ended up pleading guilty, and so he took less time by pleading guilty. I'm just, that's another day and another story.
Where did he end up going to prison at?
Up in the state that he's at.
What state?
Up in Washington State.
Got it.
Yeah, way back in the day, and it's one of those situations that we got to do a better job from a law standpoint of understanding this level of abuse and what's happening, and protecting kids at all cost after it happens.
Do you know Scott Titus?
I don't.
I'm going to introduce you to him.
Okay.
He works for the Department of Homeland Security, and he's in sex crimes, child exploitation, and what's the other word? I'll think of it. Anyway, he was on one of my podcasts. I'll send it to you.
Okay, awesome.
Great dude.
Thank you.
Fitness guy too.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's a stone cold freaking.
He loves dumbbells.
He does love
protecting
dumbbells.
kiddos.
Yes, he does. I mean, you guys would groove well in this area. So you probably should have him on one of your shows too.
Yeah,
maybe your podcast.
Absolutely.
Okay, so man, holy cow, holy smokes. Okay, so. Tell us about when he tells you, 24 hours into meeting, you guys are like Ken and Barbie, fitness people, it's like, and then he springs this on you. Any other girls like, too much for me, I'm out, right? Why did you not do that? I mean, I know why, you're a godly woman, but why do you think, what was it about you in the moment that drew you to the honesty of that?
Well, it was a unique situation because we met, it was at the Olympia in Las Vegas. We'd met on MySpace and we're like, hey, you're going to be at the expo at the Olympia. Let's meet up and let's take a picture together. That's literally, we'd messaged a few times back and forth, nothing like romantic. It was more like a mutual respect for, we were just in the same industry and knew a lot of the same people. We talked on the phone one time. And I was living in Texas, he was in Kansas City, and just we really had a lot in common as far as passion for helping people. And he hadn't started Hitch Fit yet, but he was in transformation. That's kind of what I was doing in Texas. So we were literally going to just meet up at the expo and take a picture for MySpace. That was the plan.
Yeah.
And as soon as we met, we clicked immediately. Like I felt like we'd been best friends for a long time, and we we were like, well, what are you doing? I was like, I guess we'll hang out with you. Yeah. So we hung out at the expo that whole day.
Were you guys there with anyone? Or did you guys go by yourselves?
I used to go to the expos by myself and just meet up with friends and meet the people at the back then you actually had to go and meet people and have relationships to get opportunities.
I mean, you had to have courage.
I would just, I'd show up and like have little outfits with my abs out and be like, hey, I'm Diana. Like, true. How are you?
It's true.
But I knew immediately I liked him. We hung out that first day, and then the next day, I think we met up for breakfast the next day, and I had started turning my life back to the Lord. And so prior to that, probably with a year before that or so, I was starting to go back to church. I was building my relationship with the Lord, and I had made a commitment to the Lord that I would never date anybody again that didn't already have a relationship with Jesus. Yep. That had to be foundational. I wasn't going to try to convert anybody. I wasn't going to try to convince anybody. I'd done that in past relationships where faith was not even a factor, and it never worked out. And so I was like, okay, Lord, I promise I am never even going to date unless they have that foundational relationship with you. So 24 hours in, when I knew I liked him, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to ask this question.
Got to pop the question.
I did in Vegas, and I had to, because I didn't want to I knew I liked him, and I was like, I don't want to get any further emotionally invested if foundationally he's not there. I just don't I'm not even going to put my heart there. So within 24 hours, I was like, hey, I got a question. I was like, do you know Jesus? And his answer was, he kind of paused, and he was like, yes, I do know Jesus. I've asked him as my savior. And he said, but to be honest, I'm angry at God. And in that moment, I knew that there was something deeper. And so I didn't press him on it. I just said, thank you for sharing. And I think we changed subjects and talked about something else. And then later that night, we were at dinner, and this was a dinner where we literally just were talking about every topic under the sun. It was like we both kind of knew, and we were just talking about everything. And so I asked him, why are you angry at God? And he kind of sat there for a minute, and then he told me, he's like, I was sexually abused by a man that was in the church. And he gave me a little detail, as our relationship progressed, he gave me a lot more detail, but it didn't make me think less of him. I remember thinking how strong it was. I'd never had a man share that so honestly and vulnerably, and I found him incredibly strong to have shared that with me. I held it. I didn't realize how rare that was in that moment, but because I just didn't have the education around it, but I knew that this was something very heart level and very deep that he had just had the courage to share with me. And I remember getting emotional, and just saying, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And it made sense to me why he was angry at God.
Sure. And
so it was kind of from there, I never felt like I had to pressure him, because I could also see that there wasn't I'm never turning back to the Lord. I just could see hurt and pain. And when he told me what happened, it just made sense. And I didn't feel the need to fix it, which is another thing that I think I did right, even though I didn't even know what I was doing, because now, when people share, people try to go in to try to fix or try to, but the Lord worked things out. And that stuff doesn't actually work. But being able to just sit with someone in a story and listen to it and say, I'm so sorry that happened to you, is literally probably the best thing that you can do. So it didn't make me run. It actually made me more drawn to him, because that heart level of sharing, I just found it so powerful. And that I took it very, it was very special to me that he entrusted that with me, especially when we literally had only known each other for a day. Yeah. So
it's like an immediate bond.
Yeah. And I'm grateful, because our relationship out the gate had a depth that there was no games. It wasn't like, it was like, by the end of that weekend, we were like, we are together and we are committed to each other and we're doing this. You're my person. And I moved to Kansas City a couple months later, but there was no playing around, no games. And it was almost like because he had shared that part of himself, I trusted him because he trusted me so much. So it bonded us on a level that I don't think a lot of people have experienced, and especially if they have hard things like that they've kept from their spouse. And it's like we encourage people now. We've seen couples that we know that because of hearing Micah's story, because he's shared it in smaller pockets up until this Monday, we've had practice sharing this in smaller pockets. Mm-hmm. And we've already seen so much healing from him sharing, and couples that have opened up to each other for the first time. And then the deeper level of bond because they don't have this wall of a secret between them anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing and beautiful when that wall comes down and they can truly see each other and see the heart and understand more of kind of what you were talking about earlier too, of some people think I'm just going to keep this in. It comes out. Mm-hmm. It always comes out. Maybe not from your words, but comes out in anger. It comes out in mental health issues. It comes out in depression, anxiety, addictions, pornography. It comes out in all of these other ways when people think they're holding it in.
Yeah.
And so it's never, I locked it in here and I got it in. It's always comes out. And the only way to really get through those messy, be able to move past those things that are bondage is actually to be able to go in and get some tending and some healing to those wounds so that they become scars. There's always scars there once that healing's done. It's not that it ever goes away, but it gets you to a place of freedom like he's achieved because you learn how to hold the grief and also hold the gratitude for the healing and just understand there's space for both of those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking through a lot of stuff here. This is good.
I think one thing that a lot of people ask me after hearing that story is, why did you do that at that moment? Mm-hmm. Like, it's so rare. Why would that happen? And why is it taking this man over here 30 years to share? I'll tell you a statistic that a lot of people don't know unless they're in this space and understand it. 21 years to disclose, 28 years to go into depth is the average a man takes. But 90 to 93% of men never say a word.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And then 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 men that we go at the gym, the church, the grocery store, wherever we're going, has gone through something similar as me.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so crazy.
So you can imagine what that does to a family, what that does to a man that feels like he's got all these responsibilities of being a leader and a cover in his family. He has these responsibilities of being a good friend or a good boss or whatever it is, and inside he's still protecting the little boy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't explain it any deeper.
Yeah.
But the wife starts recognizing that like something is not there, but he won't open up because he's so terrified that she is going to look at him as weak.
So I have, I want to come back. I want to continue on this conversation because I have some questions. So if during you're mad at God, you're okay with that because he knows Jesus and you're okay with that at the time. So you're clearly not mad at God anymore. You're on fire. So tell me about that transition. How do you, and I feel like maybe this was part of God bringing her into your life.
So in the book, we call it lifeline number 3.
Okay. Yeah. I did hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I had turned away from the Lord. One thing that I hadn't mentioned yet up to that point was, so mine didn't come out in pornography and drugs and alcohol. That hadn't consumed me. What had consumed me was success and accolades. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of men out there that are ultra achievers that are holding and protecting that. Mm-hmm. I know that.
Yes.
And so that was me. And so I just, in my mind, I'm thinking, if I gain all this success, even if someone finds out I have all this success still, it was still like another layer of protection and armor in some sort of way. And so when I meet her, I'm still hearing the Lord some, but I'm not walking at all the way that I need to. I'm on my own path. I'm like, I'm going to hold this forever, but inside I'm still really struggling, even though I was kind of at a state of pain tolerance, as we call it, because I have the fitness. I'm not being a knucklehead and all of that. So I'm not getting myself into trouble or anything. But when I meet her, she was the very first woman that ever asked me that question. And I just remember, and she said, I paused. And I think that pause in that moment would have been, I hear you, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was very soon after that, I knew who she was and who she was from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was as open as I was with her in that moment. And in all honesty, if this was my woman, then I was going to start from the very get-go the right way.
Yeah.
And not hold what I've been holding for so long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if she was like, this is too much for me, you're weak, you're fragile, whatever, then I could have got out without getting super hurt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that doesn't happen and just all of a sudden you fall in love with Jesus. Tell me what the repairing process looks like, your spiritual rebuilding.
So I think there's two things happening. Diana is
and let me back up. And the reason why I'm saying this for our listeners is because I know there are a lot of people that either don't have God, strayed away from God, and most importantly, they don't know that first step to go back. And so they stay gone just because they don't know how to start the repair process.
I'll
so
add to that
important.
too, that there's a lot of people that have been hurt by people in the church or that said that they had a relationship with God. We have heard that tremendous amount.
Yeah, I can see that.
And they don't want to have anything to do with God ever again because this person that misrepresented who God was and literally did the opposite of what he would have said to do hurt them. And they have that, I mean, you can call it church hurt, you can call it whatever you want, but we've seen a tremendous amount of that.
God is calling me into that space specifically too.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very difficult, dark space but it also is a space that I feel like they knew the Lord at one point in some sort of fashion, right? And then someone unfortunately hurt them, or they got confused in not understanding why God didn't protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And those were things over the course of,
or they never knew him, and
or they never knew,
yeah.
or there was someone using God's name in vain, and then they were like, well, I don't want to be nothing a part of this God that is
never was before, and definitely don't want to now.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll go through the journey of healing for you, but I want to talk a little bit about the end. And the end was, I didn't realize at the time until I built the relationship with Christ the way that I have it now, that Christ was literally there with me the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was in that pain. And then connecting that to what he did for us. And that was one of the last pieces of my forgiveness, was that forgiveness state, and then understanding and going, man, like Christ knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
Horrifically. And he gets beaten and ridiculed and spit on, pinned to a cross. And the reality of the situation is he's probably naked, fully. They had ripped his clothes off. So now we have sexual abuse, we have physical abuse, we have humility, I mean.
And he was perfect.
And he just, what does he say right before he passes away? Please
Father,
forgive them.
Forgive
Father.
them for they not know what they've done.
And I was like, man, if he did that for me, then I got to find a way. I have to find a way to forgive the people who hurt me. And then I'm going to use this and I'm going to try to help some other men.
Yeah. So special.
So the healing, I meet her. I know that it's God. My internal self is going, I need to be everything for this gift that God just gave me. Even though my relationship's not right with him, I knew he had given me a gift in my wife. My wife Diana is very, she is strong. She is driven,
virtuous woman, and I try to elevate her even higher. And God has given her a lot of gifts, and one of her gifts is when she makes a commitment, whatever that commitment is, she is going 1,000%. And that commitment was, I'm turning my life to the Lord, and I'm going to do this right. And it was a season. It's not instant. Right.
But what is instant is making the decision.
Choice, yeah.
And so in that, you step forward, and you step forward again. And then God brought people into our lives. And one of the individuals that he brought into our lives was our pastor, Jason. And we had both kind of been in different styles of churches. You have the traditional churches, you have the non-denominationals and whatnot. And we meet our pastor, and I'm like, whoa. And he is a teacher at the core, and the understanding. And so we both needed this style of teaching and pastoring that not only helped me get through some of the healing and the understanding of the Lord, but to really, truly not just do the Sunday or Saturday night thing, to do the full-on relationship with Jesus and understanding the difference between relationship and religion.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Jesus traditions. And
I've often said I grew up Catholic my whole entire life. I'm Italian, right? You're supposed to. So it's what you have to do. So we were taught how to, all the prayers. Catholic people are some of the most religious people, right? Just been through the services and the reverence of the service and all that. And but for all that I ever learned in the Sunday school classes and everything, and I went to Catholic high school, and all that I ever learned was prayers, rosary, the how to be religious, right? I didn't understand why to be religious, and the only component I never and they talk about Jesus, but they don't teach you how to be in relationship with Jesus, and they miss it. They miss it. And I'm going to tell you what the travesty about that is now that I have this deep and profound relationship with Jesus, and I'm still Italian, so I go to Catholic masses on like funerals and weddings and stuff like that, right? When Italian people get married or die. So I have just a profound appreciation for the reverence of the Mass, because I understand the relationship with Christ and what it all means. Mm-hmm. And so it's a travesty, because because I go to a non-denominational church at Life Church, which is a wonderful church, and they teach you nothing but relationship with Jesus. We don't even do communion at our church. And it's like, man, that is a huge part of the ritual of being a Christian and understanding that whole piece of it. And we don't do it at Life Church, but they teach you this profound relationship. So if I were to put Life Church and a Catholic service together, it'd be like awesome.
Yes.
You're right, because as a follower of Christ and just a lover of Jesus, and when I go to those Catholic masses, they're beautiful. It's awesome. And even the art on the wall, and how the stages of the cross, and the story of Christ by looking at those. It's not just these figurines and these stupid paintings. And you can experience the hurt, and you can see it through the cycle of on his way to the cross, and it's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. But they don't teach it to you. And it's a big miss by the Catholic Church. And I think that if the Catholic Church wanted to, if you guys are listening in the Vatican, the Pope, new Pope, you need to hear this. Start teaching about Jesus.
Oh boy.
God, I'm going to leave it to God. God, you need to deliver this to the Pope for me, please. So, and then hit the like and subscribe, Pope.
My goodness.
So, yeah, but that's the whole thing, right? Everybody misses the religious part of it. You just miss the relationship with Jesus. It's so bad. It's so bad that they miss that, because that's the part, right?
Yeah.
That's where everything heals and stems from, that relationship with Christ, because then you start understanding your identity and just everything else that goes with it, right?
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. There are people that have really good, maybe have some of this past, right, of some sort, have a really, really deep... Is the healing you have a lot of studying and knowledge of this. Is the healing process essential to have a physical conversation with a human about this? Or if someone has a deep and profound relationship with Jesus, can they have this conversation with Jesus about it?
I think that like the more that we've gotten into this, sometimes people think that and taking it to the Lord is for absolutely 100% essential. I think we're also designed to need community.
Community, yeah.
And to need another human that is a safe person for us. And so I think that it is a combination of both, because if you are still keeping that in from another human that you can look into their eyes and share with them, I haven't seen someone get to a place of complete freedom that has just kept in that isolation, because isolation can also be a trauma response too. And it's like, this is just, if I can, keep this just here and I'm just, with the Lord. So I don't want people to mishear me on that, because the relationship with the Lord and inviting him in to heal those tender places is essential. I also think that having at least some level of community and safe human is also a massive part of healing, because it's that being able to heal together. Like Jesus didn't do stuff alone.
Well, and let's face it, God sent Jesus here to be a human for us, because we apparently needed the human interaction. God couldn't have done all of that from his omnipresent position, right? And nobody would have ever got it. Nobody would have ever understood it.
Yeah. And Jesus, he had community. He didn't come and just say, I'm doing all this by myself. I'm just going to go out and do this. He had community. He had safe people that he did life with. And so I think that that's an example of like, we are designed to need each other and to need that human connection and to need that community. And we are hurt by other people. We are hurt by people. And so I think part of our healing also comes from other people.
Important. Good stuff. Yeah, that's good.
So one really massive piece in that whole pocket is, I say this often, but you're most perfectly positioned to help the person you once were.
Yeah.
So if we think about an alcoholic, in AA, they usually have some sort of sponsor or an individual who has also gone through an alcoholic.
Yeah, sure.
I can't speak to an alcoholic the same way because I haven't taken that same path.
Yep.
Whereas I can speak into a man because I've gone through all of the things that more than likely he's gone through in some sort of fashion, and I've had those feelings and those thoughts, but I'm on the other side of it into freedom. Because the way that I believe, and this was a big piece of my healing too, the way I looked at it, when God spoke to me about what I was supposed to do 9 years ago and gave me the vision, I understood at that particular point that the mission would be, if I get on the other side, there's a purpose that's much greater. And you get on the other side of that shame, then you have purpose. And anointing came through that, of being able to now share my story in a way that is relatable and understandable and vulnerable, and showing that strength because we know with men, and here's the one thing we know with men, especially if you have a strong masculine man that you respect very much so, that man shares the hardest, deepest, painful thing that he's gone through, another man will stand. And another man will stand. And that's the vision that God has given me.
Yeah.
Because we came into the breaker and I'm like, Lord, what am I supposed to do? And this entire process over the course of 9 years has been unbelievable. And the people that he has brought into our lives, one by one in God's timing. And, and we're here being able to share this, to even think about that 10 or 12 years ago, there is no way.
Right.
I was still holding it.
Yeah.
And now hoping this goes to the entire world and saying, man, you're strong enough. There is hope.
Yeah.
There is freedom.
That's so good. That's so good. So tell us, all right, so from all of this, the Breaker Mission's born, right?
It is.
So tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. So
we obviously know now, spoiler alert, we know what it's about.
Yeah.
But so tell us about, what's your means and your mode, and what are you doing with it?
So the the big, underground foundation of this is to really help those men that are carrying that shame get onto the other side, which is the freedom. And, within the book, there's a book and then the mission behind it. I really felt it was important.
Assuming the breaker is the chains.
It's not.
Okay. So what do you got?
Dude,
yeah.
This is game changing.
Yeah.
You got to tell this story because it's your story.
Let's go.
Well, I wrote Micah's book. So,
but the original title was Chain Breakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were weaving through this, and it was nearly a year ago. It was last January of 2025, and we'd been working and writing, and like he would share, and then I would just we went chapter by chapter, just kind of crafting the story, and we couldn't come up with the title. And we're like, Lord, what is the title? What is this? And we kept thinking Chain Breakers. And I literally had gone in to set up, just set this up as a separate business entity and everything. And we were going to do it as Chain Breakers, but it still wasn't landing because there's a lot of stuff that's called Chain Breakers. And I was like, I don't think that's it, but I can't think of anything else. And it was, I think, the very next day after I had tried to file the stuff for Chain Breakers, and it didn't go through because there's 20 other chain breakers, and I was in my devotion time, and the verse in Micah 2:13 was in my devotions, and I kind of passed over it that day, and then it was in my devotions again the next day, and that verse says, I've got it on my shirt. It says, I can read it to you. It says, "The breaker shall go up before them. They will break out, pass through the gate, and go out. So their king goes on before them, the Lord at their head." That's Micah 2:13.
Micah.
So I didn't even catch that it was in the book of Micah. But I was like, wait a second. I was like, what does this mean, the breaker? I'm like, what is the breaker? What is this? And so I have all my books that I start digging in and looking up Hebrew roots of things and Greek roots of words. And the breaker is in Micah 2:13 is the only place in the entire Bible that Jesus, the Messiah, is referred to as the breaker. He's referred to all of these other things throughout the word, but I had never heard of him referred to as the breaker.
I never have either.
It's the only verse in the entire Bible that he's referred to as the breaker. So I'm all like, what? He's breaking through. He breaks through before us, and then we break through after him. So I'm texting him like, oh my goodness, I think I just thought of the name of the book and the mission. It's Micah 2:13. I was an hour into my research into this verse when I was like, oh my gosh, it's in the book of Micah. Like, it literally took me that long, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, Lord, sorry, I haven't had coffee yet. I get it.
Back to the ding dong days.
Yeah. I in my journals, because I was journaling, it's like, pages and pages, and I'm like, and it's in the book of Micah. And so we just knew. I texted it to him. He was freaking out, and we were just like, that's it. It's the breaker. So the breaker mission, the breaker it's literally the Jesus mission.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, so that is huge. So people that aren't seeing this and us sharing that, they won't know what the breaker means until you're into halfway through the book.
Yeah.
And then it explains how it came about and whatnot. The other thing that really tripped me out and got me really emotional is if you go back just a couple scriptures right before, Micah 2 talks about the men doing evil in their beds and plotting for the next day.
No way.
Dude.
Come on.
The whole book of Micah is about bringing
Micah
light
is about
to darkness
vulnerability.
and helping the weak and
I had
vulnerable.
to get the camera on my face just now.
Yeah. Go read it.
Yeah.
And then connect it to pedophilia. And it's
your story, and your name, and your.
These are moments where I'm like,
is 213
I don't have a
anything? Is February 13th mean anything to you guys?
I actually was wondering that too, because I'm like, I had in the journal, I wonder if anything's going to happen on February 13th. I don't know if anything significant.
Everything was January at the same time, year after year.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Go buy a lottery ticket on 213.
I'm like, maybe 213 is significant.
All profits go to the breaker. We're going to go help a lot of men.
Yeah. So we'll see. That maybe that's a significant date too.
Yep.
All right. So we know the premise of the mission, how what the name means. What are you going to do? What's your means here, or what's your mode?
Well, this is the exciting part of my life, and the first time where God is really 100% at the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
like where we had to surrender all of this. So from day one, I have no idea how I'm supposed to heal. Then once I get through some of the healing, how the breaker comes to life and all of this. So it literally is happening as day by day by day in real time. You know, he's given me specific visions of the things that we need, which is community, individuals, men standing up, forges, discipleship programs, but also the people that are church hurt. There's a different type of sector there, and then the people who have no faith at all. I want to be a resource for everyone, but I'm not going to stray away from how I healed,
the core,
and where my freedom is, and that's in Christ. You know, but they'll also know that I love them regardless of where their faith is. Yeah. That I'll hug them and speak into them, and so I want the Breaker mission and that site to really be a hub and a resource that men can go to and trust and have access to. I want to open up. I need someone to speak to, you know, and have a place of resources, because ultimately right now you go on and you try to find like resources as far as places to go. It's difficult. For women, there's a lot of different places. For men specifically, it just, there's not a lot there. And so, you know, we have some things in the works, but it's really about kind of collabing with organizations that are doing it right, that already have some pieces together, piece it all into one. And then God just called me to be a voice.
Yeah.
He's not calling me to sit with every individual man and take the journey with them. They have to take their own journey.
Yeah.
But if my voice can be their initial hope, catalyst, and glimmer and catalyst, then I'm doing what the Lord needs me to do. If God has me, you know, speaking to specific men over the years, you know, I will always be faithful and obedient in that, in every one of those callings. But he's been very clear, because my natural flesh, Tony, will be what I've done the last 25 years of my life,
one-on-one with people,
which
right?
is going into transformation. And I realized that my cup, I can't, I wouldn't be able to go that deep with individuals for, you know, having a whole lot of men doing that. But if we have these groups and these communities, then there's a lot of healing that's happening, you know, throughout the nation.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay. So what is next? What's the next steps? You know, since we're living in real time and just doing it day by day, it's funny because you asked me, like, what do I see with I'm living the same deal. I don't know.
You're like, I don't know.
All I know is I was doing this podcast tonight. I got a couple scheduled coming up, but beyond that, I don't know if it ain't.
You know what this is, guys? This is faith.
Yes.
True faith is surrendering it and going, Lord, I'm here for the ride. Yeah. We're now in the back seat.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to grab the wheel like we have our entire lives.
Yes.
And it's like, and he has to humble you to that place of like, you're not going to be able to do this without me.
Yeah.
You know, and that has been such peace, you know, because before it was, you know, especially with abuse I went through, it was all about the control and having control of every situation. Whereas now I feel such peace of just knowing that God is leading this, and my entire job is to just share my story and direct people to him.
Yeah. And he'll do the work. And he'll do the work.
I'm not a savior. I'm not a healer.
That's right.
I'm a voice.
That's right.
I think that the plan is just to be obedient and to just wherever the Lord needs us to go to speak, because I'm getting a lot of feedback from women, from wives who either their husband has opened up or not, maybe not their husband, maybe it's a brother, maybe it's a family friend, cousin, whatever it might be, that they are not, they either feel that they've gone through something and they can sense that they're holding something in, or they know they've gone through something and they don't know how to handle. And so that's something I feel like the Lord's going to have me speaking more into, of not that I'm, here's the steps, because even though there's the steps in Micah's story of what worked for him, there is not a this is this path and this is guidebook. There's not a guidebook. It's so different and complex for everybody. And so it's like we're just to be obedient to speak where he wants us to speak, to share whatever we're supposed to share in those moments, and to just do our best to participate via vessel for healing, whether we are a seed planted or whether we're a little bit more part of someone's journey, but understanding that everybody's journey is going to be unique, and wherever he needs to use us for that is where we're going to say yes to going. And if there's one thing I just wanted to touch back on, because it is how you got your eyes turned back to the Lord, because I think that can be really hard for people to hear that have struggled with their relationship with God. And we kind of, I just would say one thing I could say is ask if you're interested in getting to know him, ask him to reveal himself to you. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean even you have to go to a church. So I think that's where people have a resistance initially. If they've been hurt by the church, they're like, I'm never stepping in there. You don't have to. I would just want them to know that whoever hurt you was not representing God. And the number one thing I would say is just ask him to reveal to you who he really is, so that you can actually get to know who he is. And because that's how Micah turned his heart back. It was actually getting to know who Jesus was, not this hijacked misrepresentation of what he was shown. That's how he eventually got there, was being open to building a friendship and a relationship with Jesus slowly over time.
You know, it's really, as you say that, it's something that I always recommend as well to people, because there is one thing that I know for certain: all religions, even atheists, historians, everyone, nobody refutes that Jesus of Nazareth was a human that walked on the earth. Nobody says it didn't happen.
Well,
and
they can say it, but it's like historically, like you're just denying
it was only
history.
It was only 2,000 years ago. You might as well say George Washington didn't exist. You know what I mean? Everyone knows George Washington. They know Jesus existed just as much as George did. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
So personally, I grew up in the church, in the Catholic Church and all that, so I knew who he was as a deity, right? But I didn't not know relationship, right? So I started with getting to know the human. And as you get older, you like history, right? And you go to the History Channel. And so I just started digging in historically to Jesus. I wanted to know who he was. I wanted to know, I was infatuated with the biblical times, just to, as a historical piece, because there's so much antiquities and artifacts, and there's a lot of robust history surrounding that time of proof, right? So it's easy concept to understand from a historical standpoint. Then once you do, you can't help but fall in love with Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Because then you start seeing, you start seeing his life and as from a historical standpoint, and then you start understanding, the miracles, and then the divine threads of the fabric start weaving, because even he didn't know when he was a kid, that was, or his mom certainly didn't know really the whole entire depth of it. And then once he started, the divinity starts weaving into the fabric of his life as a human, you start seeing it, and then you start falling in love with that. And then that's where the relationship, for me, that's how it worked anyway. And I thought it was cool. And you know what, a book that really illustrated that the best was The Case for Christ. I mean, it's in he set out to do all the research to disprove, right?
And then he's like,
yep, wait a minute.
Okay, I better believe in this dude.
Yeah.
All right.
That's so good. That's a great one. There's a book that I love called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist too. It's so good because it really,
I've never heard of that one.
Oh, it's apologetics, like kind of Case for Christ realm, but it breaks down, even if you're like, I'm not ready to even look at Jesus yet, it breaks it down of literally to say there is not a creator over in this universe. It takes more faith for someone to believe that poof, everything came from nothing and that order came from chaos. It takes so much more faith to believe that than to believe in a creator and believe in the design that we get to see, that we get to live in, that we get to see with our eyes. It's so fascinating because I'm like, if someone doesn't believe in God, like there's usually reason and story there, but it takes actually way more faith to believe that there's not a designer and a creator. behind all of this than to understand that design comes from a designer, creation comes from a creator.
Well, I sat in prison for 40 months and that was long. I can't imagine eternity. And so be in a much worse prison of hell, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. And so that in itself scares the bejesus out of me that I don't want to be wrong. Because I tell people all the time, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by following in Jesus, following Christ. If we're wrong, if we've all been duped, we're gonna die and we're gonna get eaten by worms and we don't even care. We ain't even gonna know it, right? Who cares, right?
It's true.
I'm okay with that. But if I'm right and you're wrong for not believing, it ain't good. It ain't good.
That's not a debate that's going to be won.
No, it's a bad gambling. Those are bad odds.
And you know, I mean,
it's
you
like
can go
the
that
Chiefs
route.
to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. Oh man.
Hold on.
Hey, on a positive note, we get the number 9 pick.
That's
so,
right. Yes, let's go. We're coming back.
You know, but you know, the other side of that is just I just encourage those people out there to just get curious with who he was.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't take going into 4 walls. Jesus was ecclesia. I mean, he was traveling from town to town to town doing his ministry and just pouring into people with what? With compassion, love, and what? Truth. People want to talk about the first 2 and leave the other one out. You know, the lady's about to get stoned. What happens? They drop their stones when he says, "Who here has not sinned?"
Yeah.
But what does he say after that? Now go and sin no more.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So he ends it with truth. He showed compassion and love. So it's just, regardless of what you believe on that front, get to know Christ. And, you know, he created each of us one of one. So he knows our heart, our thoughts, our desires. He will reveal himself in a way that will make sense to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Let me add to that, though. It's like, why did he add the truth? Because he loved her too much to leave her trapped and stuck in that sin. Right. He doesn't want us, like, the truth piece is so important because he loves us that much that he doesn't want us in that bondage. And it's bondage. And that's the piece that I wish people could see. It's not being truthful to hurt or to harm. It's being truthful because he loves you so much. And he doesn't want you stuck in it. He wants you having freedom.
You know, as men, we're called to lead like Christ, right? He's our ultimate teacher and example. And so I tell people all the time when they're getting to know me or come to work for me or whatever, I always say there's 2 things about me that you can bet your whole farm on. And I'm going to tell you the truth as I know it, and it's going to come from my heart. Now, my disclaimers are, I could be wrong. And secondly, you might not like what I have to say.
Yeah.
You know, but it's coming from the best place in my heart. You know, it sometimes discipline, accountability, it stings. Right. But it's because I want better for you.
Yeah.
And that is Christ-like, right? He said a lot of things to people that he weren't well received. Right. But it was for good cause. He was trying to help these people. So yeah, that's great. That's a great example. So tell us about, you got a show coming up.
Yeah.
We're doing some broadcasting.
Oh, we were able to, we shared that just recently at the launch party. But, so again, thank you, Lord, for this amazing opportunity. This opportunity, came from obedience of following through what God initially showed me 9 years ago when I was at that Carrie Job concert. And the vision was I was on a stage sharing my story.
I love it.
And I was like, no, Lord, I'll do anything but that, Lord. How am I going to do that, Lord? And I told her in the car and she's like, let's go. And I was like, okay, I got my ride or die with me.
Can I share something with you?
Go ahead.
I was at the Brandon Lake concert just recently.
I was too.
So good.
And I had that vision.
You had
I had that vision. Then
believe it.
Yeah. I was like, I didn't tell Dominique, but I was like, I'm going to be on one of these stages one day because I've always wanted to be famous my whole entire life. And I've told him, if you do this for me, I will glorify you. I'll put you in front of it all. And I was out there and just enamored by Brandon Lake's presence and what,
Amazing.
just that he's made God the center of it all, you know. And I was like, man, I'm gonna do that one day. Maybe not this big, but I'm gonna be on stages, talking to people, sharing my story of hope to glorify your name. And so it's funny that you say you were at a concert, and so all right, strapping in my seatbelt.
Vision happens. I go through the whole healing stage. So, you know, I'm fast forwarding 7 years. 7 years is completion biblically. So that was also a God thing. And then we had a conference that we had a different retreat business at that point with a partner and his wife. And so we had committed to multiple retreats and this conference, and that's where I was going to share my story for the first time. So long story short, unfortunately, our business partner, like right after we did all these deals, he passed away.
Yeah.
And it was tragic. He was an amazing human being.
Yeah.
He had just got his heart right back to the Lord too. And it was very, very tragic situation. It was a very tough time, but we had made commitments, and God had been very specific with Diana of like, you know, I said that you needed to do a conference. I didn't say that he would specifically be there. And I was like, oh. And so we fulfilled that. And, you know, and the thing about it was in Tampa, Florida. We knew no one in Tampa, Florida. No one.
Right.
And we were depending on him and his community there to be a huge part of that, you know? And so, you know, we end up doing it. I ended up sharing my story for the very first time on that stage and broke down. That's 2 years ago, almost to the day 2 years ago. And it was one of the most freeing moments of my life. I'm up there crying half of it, but I'm getting through and I'm fighting through, and God is speaking through me. And in that audience was the general manager of Christian Television Network.
Of course it was.
And we had made a connection. He got invited because God had opened doors. I asked one guy in Kansas City. He connected me to one guy. That guy connected me to another guy. Now I'm in Tampa. We're talking, and then God just like opened the floodgate. And so we got to meet the people at CTN before the conference, and they were amazing. Tony, like, they shot a TV commercial for us the first day we meet them. And they're like, we love what you're doing, you know, and then he showed up and he got to hear my story for the first time. We've built a relationship over a 2-year period. And just, you know, July, we got a call, and the people that were running the fitness show on the Christian Television Network, they're retiring.
Oh.
And so they were like, you guys were who we were thinking of. You know, we would like for you to have your own fitness show.
Yeah.
And so we were like, you know, we pray on it. We're like so excited, but we didn't want just a fitness show. We wanted what we do in our lives, which was Soul Fit, and what we're doing in that, the deeper work, the pain to purpose stories. Yes, there's a huge element of fitness and health and the importance of taking care of the temple. But there's this other side of the deeper healing and really amazing stories, and traveling with us all over the world on these retreats, and a mixture of all these things that we're doing right now to glorify the Lord and help people go through their healing and whatnot. And that's what the TV show is going to be. So Soul Fit TV comes out in March of this year.
So that's what it's called, Soul Fit TV.
Soul Fit
TV.
I love it.
Now you got to say what soul means.
Well, soul. So the word soul in Hebrew in the Old Testament, because sometimes people think if you read the Greek word for soul, it kind of makes it like it's, you know, the inner person, not the body, mind, and spirit. But the word in Hebrew is nephesh. Is the Hebrew word for soul, and it actually has the connotation of the whole person, like you are a soul, you have a body, mind, and spirit. So when we say soul fit, it's not just the internal, it's literally referring to our body, mind, and spirit. And how do we build strength in all of these areas of our lives? How do we get the healing? How do we just become the strongest version that we can? So we were super excited. And then I was like, well, can I talk about trauma? And they were like, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay, I'm in.
She was all in.
I love it.
She is the most happy person I know in the world that's like, we get to talk about trauma.
I know.
Let's talk
My
about
family,
trauma.
I go home at
I'm
Christmas.
like, these people are going through trauma, D. Like, this is a serious...
And I know. And I don't say it lightly because it's serious stuff. But like, I go
serious.
home at Christmas and I'm like, hey, guys, let's talk about our trauma. And everybody runs. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. But the healing, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to have this whole new toolkit and this whole new lens, because it's just the level of deepness, the level of heart transformation that we've just seen in this short last couple of years that we've kind of had more of an understanding. I'm like, this is such a game changer to be able to help people. So
I mean, listen, and as I've been doing this ministry and reaching out and starting to help people too, the overflowing of your cup with fulfillment, it's better than any payday.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've received some pretty massive checks in my days with business and stuff like that, and it ain't nothing. Nothing. And I've done nothing but pour money into this ministry.
Yeah.
It ain't paid me hardly anything, and it's so fulfilling.
Joy.
So
foundational joy.
It is. And so when you say, let's talk about, because you understand the deliverance, what's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So that's what you're getting at. You want
Yes.
that peace and joy for people.
I want that freedom. I want them to experience freedom that comes through that healing journey.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So, we didn't talk much about Hitch Fit. Is it still going? And you guys still, you got people, are you guys doing training at all? Do you got trainers?
Very little. I mean, we're traveling about 50% of the year right now.
Yeah.
And so we have an amazing team of trainers. God had called us into really slimming that down to one gym, and
You're in
so
Parkville now, right?
In Parkville, we live north too. And so it was one of those things where it just was a God thing on how we, ended up getting it to one space, condensing it, bringing it all together. And it's just as strong, if not stronger, with one comparative to three.
Stronger.
As a business, exactly. As a business owner, sometimes, especially an entrepreneur early on, what are we thinking? We're thinking
Big.
growth.
Yeah.
Big, huge. And then it's like you open one, then you open two, and then you open three, and you realize you're like, wait a minute. Like, I'm spending all this overhead on 3 locations. We, from a financial standpoint, can do just as good with one and condense it down, but not have all the fires that we're having to put out on a regular basis. And God clearly was calling us into something else too.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It was like SoulFit came to life, but then there was something much bigger, which was what we're doing with the breaker and the deeper stuff there. And we couldn't stay working in that business and on the business at the same time effectively.
Yeah.
And so we still are in there when we're in town. We have kind of our clients that we've had for a long time that we have deep relationships with. And then we have an online business too that is still really, doing real well. And then, and then we have, the retreats. And so we do anywhere between 3 and 4 of those a year.
Hitch Fit supplements. We just launched our own supplement line.
That just came out.
Let's
yes.
go.
Yeah.
I have to get in on some of these.
Yeah, man, it's good. It's
and
real good too.
And then I have an app that I just started that's a faith and fitness based app it's called Soul Strong. And so that's for women over 40. And so it's more niche of like just being able to work with them in those seasons and also help with the story work and help them dig in a little bit deeper too. So.
And the podcast.
Oh yeah, and a few things. Yeah, a few things. Podcast.
What a cute name too.
A few things.
You got a few things to talk about.
We have a few things to discuss.
That's great. Okay, so Diana, and we're going to probably have to do a whole nother episode because you've got some things in your life too that you've had to work through.
Oh yeah.
And so I want to honor that, and so we're going to do another one of these if we can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I don't want to undershadow that at all. And obviously the breaker mission is part of your story and everything that's been happening. So I want to talk about that. But, another thing too that I just thought about, you probably all already have too, but soul is son, which son is Jesus, right? So they that's kind of whenever I think of, so I thought that's where you were going when you say soul fit, you were going to say, spelling it SOL, like son, Jesus, sunlight, sun. I'll never forget when I was pretty strung out and I was kind of I was a high functioning addict, right? And so I was fighting MMA and doing all that stuff. And, you know, I would get off during the training season, whenever I'm leading up to a fight, I would get complete off drugs. Obviously you have to at that level, but, the night of my fight, I'm completely wasted, you know, partying and everything else. But I remember there was a guy that I was training with in jiu-jitsu, and he was a super devout Christian, right? And he invited me to, I think he wanted me to come over to his house for dinner or something like that. And I was saying, I told him I was working on, I was spun out on meth, you know. I had projects going all the time, right? And I said, man, I need to hurry up and get this done. I'm running out of sunlight. And he texted me back. He said, "You're actually running out of sunlight," and he put SON. Oh. And he had no idea that I was doing all this stuff. He didn't know, you know. And I remember that it started planting seeds, you know. And that was I was like, I'm running out of sunlight. Oh my gosh.
That was your aha moment.
It a little bit started planting some seeds anyway. Yeah, I didn't quit getting high at that time. Yeah, it was seeds were starting to take root though. So. Okay, so one last question and I didn't preface you guys with this, and I usually do, but you guys are good. You're deep thinkers anyway. So when I started this podcast, my doctor told me, he's like, you know, what's really cool about this is you're doing these podcasts and they're going to perpetuate maybe for hundreds of years. We don't know, right? Long after us, these videos are going to go on, right? So I want to give you an opportunity to leave a legacy moment of if someone 100 years from now, give us some wisdom that you guys want to impart on generations to come, you know, 10 years, 20, 100, who, for however long somebody watches this video, what kind of transcendence do you want to leave them? Can be anything.
Yeah. So life is a journey, and enjoy the journey. There's going to be ups and downs. Understand that when you're in comfortable stages of life, you're not growing. You're growing when you're in the storms of life. Mm-hmm. So when you start looking at the storms as opportunity for growth, it starts changing your mindset. I would tell anyone and everyone, start working out.
Yes.
Start eating right, because it will change your life.
Yeah.
And it will, you know, not only we talk about generational wealth, I talk about generational health. Mm-hmm. And those choices that the parents make can completely transform the children's lives by the way that they live and the choices that they make. And most importantly, love your wife, because she is a gift for you. If I'm speaking to a man, speaking to a woman, love your husband, respect your husband. And last but not least, find Jesus.
Yeah.
Get curious with who he is and give your heart to him.
Absolutely. Because he's definitely still around if you're watching this 200 years from now.
100%.
Unless he comes back by then. Maybe he'll come back by then.
Yeah.
You ask my mother-in-law. He's coming any day now. She's ready.
Well, that's what I would just say, because who knows what 200 years from now would look like with fitness. You may be able to just put something on and it works out for you. AI fitness, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm like, the only constant that I know that will be here 200 years from now is Jesus. And so no matter what the world looks like or life looks like, it's get to know who he is, because he's the only thing that stays constant. He's, you know, he's the first and the last, and just get to know him. That's because who knows what all the other stuff's going to look like in 200 years. I have no idea.
I know that's right. What's up, down. I mean, everything's so backwards now. Who knows what it's going to be? Maybe it'll be back straightened out in a couple hundred years.
Keep your eyes on him.
Just keep your eyes on Jesus.
Yeah. Yep. So, well, guys, I could sit and talk to you guys forever. You know, we're connected spiritually and aligned. And so, you know, obviously we share our missions, or, you know, we're on a mission for Christ, lead people to Jesus. And so that's awesome. And your friendship means a lot to me. And I am so humbled to be, you know, in your friend circle, to be able to be called a friend. What you guys are doing is so special, and you're going to help a lot of people. And, you know, thank you for saying yes and being obedient. And Micah, thank you for being a man and modeling that and leading your home and leading your wife. And thank you for being a good wife and virtuous and supporting him and putting the wind in his sails and being his biggest cheerleader and supporter. And this right here is an example of exactly why we do it with the Stronger Leader mission. It's you guys are modeling exactly what I'm trying to get to accomplish for people. My wife and I do too. You guys happen to be sitting here, but this is what we want. So if you guys are watching, this is a great example of what a great, strong couple looks like, living for Jesus. So keep doing it. Keep doing it, and I'm glad to have a front row at your guys' show.
I want to take a moment. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity of being able to speak into your folks that are watching this, and thank you for taking that step in trusting the Lord through everything that you went through. Your story is very powerful. Can't wait to read your book. Just got it 2 days ago or yesterday, I think. And just so thank you for being obedient in this. And it's been a real, true pleasure to be here with you and dive into this.
Well, I think that probably with the synergies of what we're doing with men's ministry, there's probably going to be a little bit more synergy that our ministries can do together in some fashion. And, we got the colors down.
We did.
So that's good.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
What's more masculine than that?
I mean,
just black and white.
You just go black and white.
And that's all it is. It's
and we're
black
simple.
And white.
We're black and white.
That's it. That's what this is all about. So... All right. Well, I'm going to hit the ejection seat and do my my outro. I don't have any outro music. It's the same as the intro, but it's still good. I like it.
All right. Can't wait.
Oh, wait. And the crowd goes wild. Still learning my keys over here. That's another successful episode of the Stronger Leader podcast. I appreciate you guys, Micah and Diana. God bless you guys in your ministry, and I pray a special blessing over you that you reach millions and millions of people and keep doing what you're doing. And if you guys like this, hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell, turn the notifications on so you get all the new drops when they come out. And as always, be good, be blessed, and be stronger. Peace.